So when you're taking your notes, part of the reason I want you to annotate your text in a specific way is that you can convert them into notes in a specific way. So the title of your text is going to become the title of your notes. The title of your guys' text is always just going to be the unit title. The headers title, I'm sorry, the text title. Where's my big guy? So in the text, that would be the section title. Okay, so the title of the text becomes the title of your notes. The headers in the text become the headers in your notes. So the headers are the bigger, bolder things before a part of the text. So one of your headers in section 2 will be language. Your next header will be reading. A header in your note is going to create a section in your notes, just like there. So you'll skip a line before your next header. The things that you have highlighted in the text becomes your main note. So that's going to be your notes that are furthest to the left. And then your underlined details, things maybe you've starred, those are going to become your subnotes. So you'll be using bullet points. So your main notes will be the furthest to the left with the main bullet. You'll skip a line, you hit tab, and the bullet point moves over, changes the indent, and it also changes the bullet point. And then you guys are seniors, so I do want to see citations at the end of your notes. So if you have the title of the text, these are what your notes are going to look like. Title needs to be somewhere on there, big. Your header, so your header has no bullet, and you probably make it bold. It needs to stand out in some way. You can highlight it, you can bold it, you can underline it, whatever works for you. I just want to see it looking different from your notes. And then under your header becomes your notes. So you have your main notes, which is just the word that you have highlighted. And then you hit enter, tab, okay, tab on your keyboard, and that will bring you to a new line, and it'll knock it over and give you a different bullet. So I hit enter, I'm going to hit tab. Oh, I'm in a table, it won't let me do it. But if you want to go back, so you want to make another main note, all you have to do is, with nothing written there, hit enter, and it'll actually knock it back over to the left. So your subnotes are the things that you have underlined, and every new piece of information goes on a new line. So when you're looking at your notes, they're actually not going to fill the page side to side. They're probably going to be pretty narrow and all over on one side of your page, which makes it really easy to fill up a page of notes really quickly. Now, that also means it's really easy to look through your notes and look for information later when you are writing and using that information. So make sure your citations go at the end of your notes. That is the author and year. So I've given you an example of what notes will look like. So here we have title, title, header, header. And you can see I'm not copying it word for word. We have highlight, main note, highlight, and main note. Everything that I underlined about this keyword becomes a subnote. So dino condition, affected, affected. And I'm not writing in full sentences. I'm using abbreviations, okay? Because I want to keep these as short and sweet as possible. And then my citation goes after every note. So helpful hint, type your citation once, highlight it, hit Control-C, and then type your next note, and then all I'm going to hit is Control-V, and it pastes the citation. Okay, another note, Control-V, there it is. So that'll make your life 1,000 times easier if you're using Control-C, Control-V for your citation. So this is what your notes will look like. In this document, I've also included a big list of helpful keys and buttons for this process for you. So I'm learning that students are not as familiar with how to use a document, how to use things like these tools up in the ribbons, especially how to use hotkeys and keyboard shortcuts to do these things. So I've included kind of a little cheat sheet here for you if you are so inclined to use them. So at this point, do I have any questions about what your notes will look like or what you're doing for the rest of the day? So thinking about this, I also want to point out the nice thing about you using word processing to do this. You can also, if you double click a word, it highlights the single word. If you double click a word and then hit Control, Shift, and the arrow buttons, you can highlight multiple words. So I could just Control, copy the word, and then Control, copy, Control V. I can literally copy and paste my annotations without having to hand retype it myself. But if you do that, you lose your citation that you have copied to paste. But you can always go back in the end and just tack that citation to the end of each, tack that citation onto the end of each note. I also want to point out for this unit, some of the information was written by Hoff, some of it was written by me. So be careful about who you are listing as your citation for your notes. And if I do not have any other questions, I'm going to let you guys get going so you can get that done. So finish your BK annotations and notes. If you've done the annotations, your notes shouldn't take you more than 15-20 minutes tonight. And then get in the habit of self-assessing. So head on up to page 2 in your learning guide and self-assess your BK before you're done. All right, my friends, you can hang out. I will be here for, we have 15 minutes left of class. So I'll be here to answer questions if you have them. Otherwise, if you feel confident, you are free to go as long as you get it done. Connor.
Called out.
Oh shoot, it looks like my Zoom is freezing up. I was gonna check the chat. I haven't seen anything come through the chat, but I can still hear you guys as far as I know. So feel free to unmute and ask questions if you've got it.
Junior year,
I have a question.
how to take citations.
Okay. Who was asking the question about citations?
Lucy.
I'm sorry, I can't see Zoom. Lucy, what was your question? I missed half of it.
Junior year, I wasn't taught how to take citations.
Okay. I can go with that. So a citation is just where you got the information from. And so in my texts that I provide you, I always give you the citation where it says by, and I try and put it basically in your citation format, which is last name, comma, and then the year the whatever it was published. So if you were writing a paper or when you get to college, if you're turning anything in, you have to tell where your information came from, because obviously you didn't go out and do this research and figure this out on your own. So if you don't include a citation, that actually becomes plagiarism, which in high school is a no-no. In college, it will literally get you kicked out if you do it, on purpose. So you always want to be really careful to be citing where your info came from. So in-text citations can take lots of different forms depending on what format your teacher is asking you to use. There's APA is one of the most common. Depending on your degree program you're in, you might be asked to use MLA. I was in anthropology, so I used AAA. For this class, I just kind of went with like a very generic, all I want is author last name, comma, year. And that goes in parentheses at the end of your notes. So just like I put it right here. And then eventually when you are putting this information into various other places, let's say you're writing an outline, you would take your note, you would copy and paste it into your outline, and then you would turn this note into a sentence. But guess what? Your citation is already there. So having it in your notes means that you're not having to go back and say, oh, where did I find this information from? And you're going back through all your papers and things that you've read. So that's all I'm looking for is author's last name, comma, year in parentheses at the end of the note.